This is the most customizable keyboard ever. Well, that's what it says on the box. I can confirm that Glorious has put their money where their mouth is here. The GMMK 3HE is absolutely insane for quite a few reasons, so let me explain. This looks like a pretty ordinary mechanical keyboard, right? I mean, it's pretty plain with just an accent LED and a knob at the top to sort of spice things up, because otherwise it's just a sort of, well, any other keyboard, right? Well, you'd be wrong. First, this is an HE board. That stands for Hall Effect, meaning the switches are magnetic. But there are already a bunch of HE boards. That's not the only special thing. Now, this thing is actually designed to be disassembled and customized. The 8 screws and no clips that hold this thing together reside under the rubber feet on the bottom. Except unlike most boards, these feet aren't held down with tape or glue. These are specifically designed to be a press fit, meaning you can remove and install them as many times as you like without any issues. They even include the Phillips head screwdriver, which happens to be the only tool you need to fully disassemble this board in the box. Inside it, you'll find 2 layers of foam, silicone inserts, including a couple of spare ones in the box that form a perimeter gasket, and here's the real kicker. Take a look at the PCB. Do you notice anything unusual here? Well, that little black chip is the Hall Effect sensor. That's normal for HE boards, but that orange thing? Yeah, that is a mechanical switch hot swap connector. This board, this HE board, can use both magnetic and mechanical switches. How insane is that? You can mix and match not only between the 4 different magnetic switches that Glorious offers, but between HE and mechanical too. That's just incredible. And speaking of the switch options, luckily they include one of each of their sort of options as spares in the box. First, the switch that comes on the board. These are their Fox HE switches. They're red style switches, meaning they're linear with 45 grams of actuation force. You've also got the light blue Lynx HE switches, which are also linear, but have a lighter 40 grams of actuation force. These, at least the Lynx anyway, including come in both regular and silent variants, as do the, frankly, incredibly unique option, the Panda HEs. These are tactile brown style switches, complete with a visible tactile bump mechanism, while still retaining their magnetic benefits. While I'm sure that it seems strange to have an adjustable actuation point on a switch that has a fixed tactile bump, I actually really like it, although I'll get back to you on my thoughts on them later. There is one more switch here though, the green clicky buggers. These Raptor HE switches. If you are that way inclined, then, oh yes, I am judging, but you can have these audible clicky switches with magnets in them. They don't come in a silent variant, funnily enough. Honestly, the GMMK3's ecosystem is expansive. Everything that you can imagine you can change, Glorious has available. Want a new top plate? No problem. Want a metal knob instead of the somewhat cheap feeling plastic one that comes included? No problem. Want a fancy coiled USB cable instead of the basic but nice enough USB-C cable that comes included? They've got you covered. Oh, and of course, a nice collection of keycaps too. This amount of customizability, and repairability too, is really nice. So much so that Glorious decided to let you spec your dream keyboard in a configurator. They call it Boardsmith. And basically it lets you spec all of the options you could want in one go. It actually gives you access to a lot more options for your board too, like metal base plates and upper plates, polycarbonate switch plates, upgraded pour-on gaskets. All of that though does come at a cost. The regular GMMK3HE is £200, at least for the full-size version. but at least my config anyway, with its metal parts everywhere, is a whopping £490.99. That is a hell of a lot to spend on a keyboard. But for a fully custom board with that much functionality, well, clearly that's a pretty compelling option because Glorious are, at least apparently, fully booked on Boardsmith orders right now. But let's say that you don't want to spend £500 on a keyboard. What do you get for the £200 off-the-shelf version? Well, still a pretty nice board. Personally, I feel like the knob and the stock keycaps are a little cheap feeling. I have a hard time describing my feelings, so please excuse the vagueness here, but they just don't feel premium and nice to me, basically. The red Fox switches are also equally not amazing. They have a pretty loud clack to them. Have a listen. They do feel nice enough, but as a tactile switch fan, these just don't do it for me. Luckily, Glorious sent over some of their silent Panda HE switches, so let me swap them over. Oh, and their polychroma RGB keycaps too. Now with the silent pandas in the middle, here's what it sounds like to type on them. Honestly, the pandas feel amazing, and coupled with the nicer feeling polychroma keycaps, man, this thing is an amazing typing experience. It's quiet with a nice bit of kinesthetic feedback, and even though you can adjust the actuation points, for typing at least, it makes a big difference to the feel. And for me, that is a must-have for an everyday use board. Of course, for gaming, you might prefer the linear options, although, if I'm being honest, it isn't actually that hard to swap them out should you really want to. For me though, gaming on these, the pandas, is fantastic. The joys of Hall effect switches is that they can offer a whole range of extra features, not just the adjustable actuation points. Glorious offers a rapid trigger feature for fast reactions and sort of better strafing in games like CS, and a 4:1 dynamic keystroke feature, which basically just lets you map multiple actions to a single keystroke, say for building in Fortnite, or even just walking versus sprinting depending on how far you're holding the W key down. Those add up to an excellent gaming experience. The one thing that I would add is that the keyboard isn't quite as fast in terms of latency as some of the other HE boards that I've tested, even at 8000 Hz and with the input latency setting set to 0 milliseconds. It ran anywhere between 10 and 12 milliseconds on average, depending on the actuation point setting. Whereas, for example, the Nufi Air 60HE ran more like 5 milliseconds on average. That isn't a massive problem, but I guess if you're looking for the most competitive keyboard for gaming, maybe this one isn't quite it. For a layman like me though, I had no problem with the frankly tiny increase in latency. I did find it a bit strange that the input delay feature didn't seem to do anything. By default, the board is set to 1000 Hz and 16 milliseconds of delay, so obviously I changed that, and I would recommend you do too if you have one of these boards, and then saved it, but it seemed to reset itself during some of my testing, maybe from unplugging and replugging, I don't know, but the software said it was back to 1016 milliseconds, and well, the two tests didn't seem to show any difference in results. Maybe it wasn't reset, you know, when I replugged it, whatever, or maybe the feature's just a little buggy. Either way, I'm happy enough with the board, and for the most part the configuration software too. On the whole, I really like the GMMK 3HE. It's easily the most feature-packed board I've tested, and the fact that you can use both magnetic and mechanical switches is incredibly cool. Plus the 6 total options for the mag switches is super unique. If you've got the cash, their Boardsmith option lets you spec your dream board, or failing that, you can get the regular one and just upgrade it yourself over time. The repairability and customizability is unmatched, and while it does come at a considerably premium price tag compared to the other HE boards that are on the market, I can at least see where at least some of that value goes. I would prefer a metal shell and knob out of the gate, especially at £200, but still, this is an amazing board, and I think that it's gonna find its way onto my desk, replacing my original GMMK soon, pretty quickly. Of course, with that said, those are my thoughts, but I'd love to hear yours in the comments down below. What do you think of the GMMK 3HE? Is this a board for you? Do you care about the insane amount of customizability? And if you were to get a magnetic, or a Hall effect keyboard and key switch, what sort of style would you go for? Linear, which kind of makes the most sense for the adjustable actuation points, or something a bit more tactile like the Pandas that I personally prefer? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll leave a link to Glorious's website in the description if you're interested, and if you want to check out more videos like this one, you can hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon. Check out plenty of other videos on the end cards, including some of the other HE boards that I've tested recently. And otherwise, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you all in the next video.